Okay, we're here, we're back. And listen, I'm coming back, baby. Expect me to actually upload again. Anyway, we're going over why I hate this game, Overwatch. This game is very bad from a balance and design standpoint, and I'm gonna go over every reason why I hate this game while I make a tier list about why I hate this game. So we're going to go through the supports first, and then the tanks, and then the DPS. And there's a few different categories we're going to go over to determine someone's actual place on the tier list. So it's not going to be like, oh, you know, Doomfist can get an insta pick, therefore he's S tier. That's not how it works. We're going to be looking at a few different things, mainly like risk to reward ratio, how much value they get, their total cost to upkeep, general just kind of things like that. So my main gripe with Overwatch right now, the first one, hopefully everything's getting fixed in the second game, but my main gripe with Overwatch is the lack of carry potential in this game in general, unless you're playing like there's like a few heroes with carry potential, but basically everything else has kind of very little carry potential, just kind of enough to be more valuable than the other team, therefore pushing you to a win. And like unless you're like turbo smurfing or something, or you're like a top 10 player. But we're gonna start with Ana. I think in terms of the meta right now, it's not favorable for Ana, especially because Doomfist is actually a decent hero, and I mean, although Ana can definitely deal with a Doomfist if she's saving her cooldowns, but there's definitely scenarios where she's going to have to use cooldowns and then Doom can engage on her and it's basically a free pick. So I think right now, in the current meta, where it's kind of very spammy, or it's double shield, or it's like ball hog, things like that, I would think Ana is probably, I think she's B. I think she's a great hero. I think in terms of meta, she's not very good right now. I think her risk to reward ratio is actually very, very, very good, because obviously she's a positional based hero and you basically get all of your value from how well you position. I think her cost to upkeep is very low. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put her in A. I think she's actually a relatively strong hero, just looking at her by herself. But in comparison to some of the other heroes, she's definitely not great. So I think 100% her cost, her value, risk to reward, all those things, they're very, very good. However, given the right circumstances, she can definitely get ran over very easily. Her nade is extremely strong, especially when obviously using it as more of an offensive tool than a defensive one. You can enable your DPS, you can enable your tanks very well. So for example, if you're playing Ryan Zarya and you anti the enemy Ryan after the enemy Zarya uses her team bubble, then your Ryan can basically just hold W on him, getting a ton of free swings, tons of ult charge. He has to, the other Ryan has to walk back. So Ana definitely has a lot of value. And I think A is a decent spot for her, although the meta is definitely not very good for her. Okay, Baptiste, this hero is unbelievably broken. It's not even funny how busted this hero is. He's kind of ridiculous. His damage output is absurd. He's also a hit scan hero. His healing is very high. It's AoE healing. He has 2 AoE healing. And Immortality Field, probably one of, if not the best cooldown in the entire game, even though it's on a high cooldown. So his risk to reward ratio is basically like 0 risk for infinite reward. You can basically just AFK in your backline, spamming shots to set scan, and then, obviously right clicking your main tank or your off tank a couple times whenever they get critical, and then just go back to shooting people. He's basically just Soldier on steroids, plus his mobility with his boots makes him even more difficult to dive. The hero is honestly kind of ridiculous. I don't really know why he hasn't been nerfed harder. I mean, he's obviously very strong. I don't think you can have high healing output with high damage output and good mobility and very good cooldowns inside of a relatively, small to average size hitbox. It's like the hero is basically undiveable, especially if you have a break. He's essentially completely invincible in your backline. I think there's definitely a lot of issues that are caused because of Baptiste, especially like, for example, if you have a Reinhardt who goes overly aggro and overextends, and then he should die for that, and then Baptiste obviously just presses immortality cooldown and he gets a second chance to live. It just kind of feels very cheap. It's very get jail free card. It's like, the other team should be rewarded for his mistake and them capitalizing on it, but simply Baptiste using a cooldown has saved his entire team from potentially losing a fight with one cooldown. I think is a little bit ridiculous. I don't really think it's fair or balanced, especially when a team can commit a full dive on someone and immortality will give that person an extra second or so, maybe 2 seconds to live, and in those scenarios that may be enough time for, you know, a counter dive to happen or for them to descend on the dive and try and peel. And there's just a lot of reasons as to why Baptiste is an extremely broken hero, and I don't even think he's remotely comparable to anyone else in this game. I think there are stronger heroes than Baptiste, but I think in terms of his risk to reward ratio, it's one of, if not the best in the entire game, considering the fact he's essentially an invincible DPS who can kill people and with crazy high mobility. I think he's a big problem hero in this game, and they should have fixed him a long time ago, but they didn't, I guess. Okay, next we have Mercy. I think this hero is bad. I'm not gonna lie, she's not D. I don't think she's C. I think with her being the only hero in the entire game with an ability to alter ult charge rates is very good. With obviously her damage boost, you can you know, the damage boost can be the difference between a pick or building your ult faster, or pressuring someone out of a position faster, or like just a pocket in general can be the difference between a winning and losing a 1v1 for a DPS. Her ult Valk is not very good. I mean, it's definitely not bad. It's pretty good, but in terms of the other support ults, it's definitely on the weaker side. But I think B is probably a nice spot for her, because obviously there are just some things she can't do and other supports do way better. Like her risk to reward ratio obviously depends on the hero she's working with. So for example, if you're pocketing an Ashe, you're basically just going to be totally fine sitting in the back line, chilling out, damage boosting. It's not going to be a big deal. Things are going to be nice and easy for you. But if you're pocketing someone like a Genji, then obviously your movement needs to be a lot better, your decisions need to be a lot better, things like that. So depending on who you're pocketing and how good your movement is going to determine how good you are on Mercy. Obviously, the hero is, if you've got very good movement, it's relatively easy to evade divers, but sometimes, you know, you just get deleted too fast and it is what it is. This hero definitely could be a little bit stronger. I think in terms of the other supports, she's not fantastic. Her risk to reward ratio obviously does depend on who she's pocketing. I think her total value is high in damage boost. I think damage is a very valuable ability. Her healing is kind of bad. Her healing is definitely not very good. I think her healing is great when she's Valking, but typically when you're Valking, it's like an engage, I guess. So you're going to be damage boosting most of the time anyway, unless obviously you need to be healing a lot. I think Mercy in B tier is a decent spot for her. There's definitely a few gripes I have with Mercy, and it's her kind of inability to carry. She has basically zero carry potential at all. If you Q in and your DPS are just kind of subpar, you lose. It is what it is. Unless you've got a great tank that you can pocket, like maybe a Zarya who's consistently high charge, something like that. Picking Mercy is basically going to lose you the game, because your hero is basically, her value is tied to how good your teammates are, and if you get bad teammates one game, then it's wraps. It is what it is. You're probably going to lose simply because your team was just bad and you couldn't do anything about it. Brig, this hero is better than Baptiste, definitely, I think. Absolutely better than Baptiste. Her risk to reward ratio, if played properly, now I know in like Platinum and like Diamond and shit like that, people do not play this hero properly, like basically at all. Essentially everyone just kind of like ego duels people, or they'll swing on a main tank for some reason, or their positioning sucks, or their pack usage is bad, or their inspire uptime is bad, or they use their whip shot badly, or they don't peel good enough or fast enough. They're not looking after their other support well enough, and kind of just the things like that are what makes people think that Brig is not a very good hero in those elos. But obviously give like, you know, a GM bat player, a GM Brig, you know, to, you know, obviously peel for them, and like that bad player basically has nothing to worry about with that GM Brig player near him. Obviously, I mean, she's going to beat the shit out of every flanker that comes near him. She's going to counter every dive that goes over there. You're basically making your backline unkillable with a Brig there. And obviously, if you're committing to a full dive on the Brig, she basically has so much self-sustain that she might actually be able to outlast a dive for maybe a second and a half if she's lucky. With it like a full commit to dive, especially with her shield, it can take a lot to burn through her. So I think this hero is a problem, and not a little problem, an insanely big problem in this game anyway. I think in Overwatch 2 she's definitely worse, which is obviously very good, but how worse, I'm not actually sure. I haven't really paid a ton of attention to the balancing of certain heroes, so obviously I'm going to have to wait a few months to play that game and then obviously determine whether or not I think that Brig is still a problem or not. From the looks of the beta, she seemed more balanced, but that doesn't necessarily mean she is yet, because obviously it's a beta. But in this game, she is unbelievable. I don't understand why you have a tank hero that can heal and infinitely peel, and basically her entire job is to just keep Inspire up and then peel for her support. Like, I will say, playing Brigitte well is not necessarily easy, but it's definitely not hard. Like, I genuinely believe she's one of the easier supports in the game to play properly, but that doesn't mean you can just lock Brig and go up to GM because you have a basic understanding of how the hero works. There's obviously a lot more nuance to it than people believe. Like, obviously people are just like, just go Brig forehead and like peel, but obviously it's not that easy, because if it was, there wouldn't be gold Brig players. But I think in the right hands, this hero is completely busted. I don't even think it's remotely fair to have this hero in the game. She makes the game very boring. There's no opportunity for flanking if she's paying attention. There's no opportunity to play dive. There's absolutely zero carry potential on basically any of the dive heroes at all when she exists. Basically making every single hero that wants to go close range completely inert simply by existing makes the game very boring. But, I mean, you know, I guess it is what it is. Next, we have Lucio. This hero is bad, I think. Maybe C. C or B, one of them. I think he's actually a C. He's actually very bad. I think in the right circumstances, like if you're playing a rush comp, he can be very good, because obviously he's the main component of it with his speed boost. But other than that, I think he's actually very bad. His healing output is trash. His speed is also very useful, but it was obviously nerfed back in GOATs, and then once 222 roll lock came, it was never buffed back to its original again. So, I mean, there's basically one or two working playstyles for Lucio, and you're either hard committing to being a DPS hero and trying to get picks and harass the backline, things like that, or you're a super supportive Lucio who's speeding your main tank around, and, you know, you're enabling your DPS by helping them get to off angles faster, or you're, you know, helping them put them on flank spots, or you're peeling for your backline with your boop a little bit. But other than kind of those basic concepts, he's not very good. I think his total value basically is all in his speed boost. You know, his damage output is relatively low. His movement's obviously very good, and it's very fun to use. But I don't think he's a good hero. I think his ultimate is kind of ish. It's not great. It's definitely not bad, but it's definitely not very good. I mean, I think C is a nice spot for him. Unless you're like Red Shell or like Frogger or one of those obviously very talented Lucio players who can, you know, just kind of delete enemy backlines. Obviously, I mean, like, those players can obviously just go in and get kills and just kill everything, because that's obviously not how the hero works. But I think he is just bad. I think he works in one comp, maybe two. His value basically all comes down to his speed boost. His relatively low damage and healing output is not very good. and he's just bad. His ult is not very good. His cooldown they're just not very good. The boop's useful, obviously, if you're going for environmentals, but in general, I think this hero is actually just not very good. I think he's pretty bad. He definitely could get a buff, but obviously we're going into the next game where it looks like Rush Comp might be kind of more meta, might be stronger, because obviously you're missing a tank, so Lucio may be very strong in that game, so we'll see. I think Zen is our next S tier hero. I think he's better than Baptiste, but I think he's worse than Brig. Maybe better than Brig. I think it's actually very close. I think Zen on his own, like for example, let's say you have Zen Bap, he's not better than Brig in any way if you're playing like Zen Bap. But I think if you're playing Zen Brig, he is better than the Brig. His healing output is not fantastic. It's not great. It's typically just a thing you throw on your DPS when they're going in, or you throw on your main tank if he's getting the shit beaten out of him, or something like that. His Transcendence, his ultimate, is actually pretty good. Obviously, with people playing less Ana, it's obviously getting more value because there's less anti-nade. His damage output is absolutely absurd. His time to kill is just completely ridiculous. In no world should this support hero delete people as fast as he does. Like for example, a Genji dives you. If you have like remotely half decent aim and the Genji fucks up his combo, he's basically a free kill, because you only need to hit him like 3 or 4 times, or headshot, body shot, and he's like basically dead. Plus, if you have Brig, you're basically never ever gonna get dove, and even if you do, the Brig shield bashes them, and then you just Discord headshot, and they're basically instantly dead, depending on who's actually diving you. The hero is insane. His damage output is so high, it's completely absurd. He challenges most of the DPS for their damage. He is basically just a walking damage dealer. He's insane. I think he definitely should get nerfed. His Discord should 100% be nerfed. I don't know why he's buffed in the next game. The plus 25 HP and the Zen kick are ridiculous. You're already buffing an insanely good hero and making him even stronger. But then again, I haven't played a ton of the beta, and obviously the game isn't even out yet, so I've no idea how strong it will be. But from the looks of the beta, Zen seemed pretty strong in that game as well, especially with his health buff and his kick of doing more damage and booping you. I think the hero is insane, especially in Overwatch 1. With a Brig, he's essentially just an unstoppable killing machine, especially with Discord. He just deletes everything, and he's undiveable because Brig makes him that way. So I think Zen is a problem hero who's enabled by another problem hero. So I think if they nerfed Brig, Zen would also be nerfed along with it. Not necessarily directly, but indirectly, simply because Brig is worse. That will make Zen worse. So I think you would start with nerfing Brig pretty heavily, and then nerfing Zen a little bit, like maybe 5% less damage on his Discord. So instead of 25%, it's 20%, something like that. Or maybe making it so if Discord is broken, you can't cast it for a certain amount of time, like an actual cooldown, instead of it just being infinite uptime. Moira, this hero is also bad. I don't think she's as bad as Lucio. Oh, she may be bad as Lucio. I think she's C or B. She's one of them. I think in my experiences of playing against Moiras, she is very weak. Especially as a Genji one-trick. I mean, she's not very difficult to kill. She's very easy to blade as well, because you slash her once, she fades, and then you dash on her, and then you slash her again, she's dead. Her fade ability is actually very good if used properly, but typically people aren't gonna use it perfectly, especially when they're using it panic mode. So I think she is better than Lucio. I'm not gonna lie. I think she is better. Her overall healing output is very high. Her damage output can be high. Her ability to deal with flankers isn't amazing, but her lack of mechanical skill required to use her just makes her very easy to play. She can have high value if you need a ton of healing in your comp. Like, you have a Lucio player who's being a little red at Lucio, then you could go Moira, but then again, you'd probably just rather go Baptiste instead, because he's just Moira but substantially better. Is she as good as Mercy? I don't think she is. Honestly, I think Moira's C. I'm not gonna lie, this hero is actually kind of bad. Her damage output is low-ish. I mean, she can fight off flankers relatively well, but she's got such a long, skinny hitbox that you can basically just spray her in the chest and you're basically guaranteed. Like, if you're a Tracer, She's super easy to kill, especially when she fades out, and she's basically just dead. She's 2 clips or so and she's gone. Healing up, I mean, her abilities aren't very good. Like, the orbs are just kind of bad. They're not very useful at all. I mean, and then all she can do is fade as well. I think she's bad. I think her total value is low. Her risk is, I mean, she needs to be relatively close to the person she's healing. So obviously, if your Reinhardt commits and goes in, you also have to go in, which makes you obviously a much easier target. And if you end up having to use your fade, then you're probably fading away from the person you're healing. And then that person's obviously not going to be able to get anything other than with your orb, and your orb healing output isn't great. I think Moira is just like a very kind of niche hero. She fits into rush comp, things like that, but that's only really because she has the massive AoE where she can just flicker, you know, spray around and like just heal everything. So I think she's pretty weak. D.Va, I think this hero is actually probably the best tank in the game. I don't think she's OP. I think defense matrix is still a bit of a problem. Do I think she's S tier? Okay, yeah, I think she is S tier. I don't think she is she better than Baptiste? I think she may be. I think she's better than Bap, maybe. I think she's okay. See, this is tough because obviously they're kind of hard to compare because they're completely different things and their value is completely different. D.Va's ability to peel is insane. Her ability to control high grounds, clear rotations, help teams rotate, general pressure on you know, high ground, out of position squishies, just deleting things super quickly, the very high pressure constantly. Micro missiles, obviously not being a fantastic cooldown, but being very useful when used properly. I think defense matrix in general is just very broken. I think it makes the game very boring to play, but I can honestly kind of understand its necessity in some circumstances where without it would feel kind of cheesy. But then again, defense matrix itself is kind of cheesy, so it's difficult to say. So I think maybe she's a little worse than Bap. I think she's worse than Bap, but I think she's very broken. I mean, her bomb ability, or her ultimate is, it's definitely not bad. I don't think it's great. I think it's pretty good. I think it has its place. I think it's very good at zoning out a certain area. So for example, just tossing on the payload is normally like a relatively okay thing to do. Obviously there's better usage for it. Like a GM D.Va player is obviously going to throw bomb differently to how other people throw bomb in other elos. So I think in like Diamond or Platinum, people just kind of toss it at the cart and they're like, cool, if I kill something, I kill it. If I don't, I don't. But in GM, obviously, there's more thought process. Like, okay, where can people hide from my bomb? Where are people now? How long is it going to take them to rotate into an area where it's safe? Are they going to be in a stronger position or a weaker position after they rotate there? Am I making them stronger by forcing them all together in this area? Am I making them weaker? Things like that are all things that a D.Va player would consider before throwing bomb in a place. But I think basically all of our strength comes from our ability to pressure the high ground very easily. Defense matrix gives ridiculous amounts of peel. Like if you're just holding DM over your Zen is basically unkillable unless he's getting beamed. But even then, I don't know how he would be getting beamed unless your Zarya is like giga flanking or something. I think D.Va's very strong. I think nerf her lightly-ish. I think basically all of her power comes from her defense matrix. I think if you just nerf defense matrix a little bit, she'd be better. Obviously, none of this is gonna happen because the new game's coming out in like 2 months or something. So obviously, none of this matters. But I think it's just fun. I think Monkey is. I think he's okay. I think B is a relatively good spot for him. He is obviously D.Va's counterpart, very useful in dive too. He's the main cleave pressure when he jumps into the back lane. He's your main engage. He can absorb a lot. In and out, very nice. But jump being a nice ability. Primal being, I think Primal's not good. I think Primal's on the lower side of the ults in this game. However, I think it definitely is very useful in certain scenarios. For example, if you're just juggling an Ana like a million years away from her team, killing her, jumping back, juggling the Bappa or whatever, then things like that, very, very useful. But I mean, it's very easy to burst people down with how developed the game has become, with people playing things like Hanzo and Kree and general high damage output heroes. It's very easy to burst the Primaling Monkey down, so it's difficult to be in their team for very long. It's good at stalling. Bubble being very strong, he gets basically all of his strength from jumping on people, bubbling so that people have less time to get peel. Obviously, if you're running like a Baptiste or an Ana, the person cannot heal the person in the bubble unless they want to go in the bubble or break it. So engaging properly with Monkey can be massive, force a lot of cooldowns, things like that. However, I think it's very easy to be burst down as Monkey. Very good high ground control. I don't think he's A. I think he has a little bit too little value for how much risk he puts in. So for example, obviously if you're hard diving, you're hard committing to your dive, you're probably going to get nano, something like that, because typically you're going to soft dive until you have primal, or you're soft diving until your Ana has nano. Or maybe you're hard committing on someone out of position, something like that. There's still a lot of potential for you to die, especially if you commit your jump in there, and then all of a sudden things go wrong, and then you know the whole team's on you, you just die because you messed up. I think it's his typical value is a lot lower than his risk. You know, I don't think he is strong. I don't think he's bad. Obviously, double bubble is pretty strong. Zarya is kind of bad, but I think double bubble is strong if used properly, because you're enabling your Zarya a lot, you're getting a lot of charge. You enable your Monkey a lot, obviously, because you can stay in longer before he has to put his bubble down. Things like that. I think in the right circumstances, Monkey's a good hero-ish, but in most scenarios, he's just kind of not really that good. He's kind of mid. I think Ball is honestly S. The amount of S tier heroes is a little insane. I think Ball is absurd. Maybe he's A. I think Ball is the best, if not second best tank in the game. I think tied for D.Va. This hero is incredibly strong. Basically being completely unkillable without CC, especially like very good ball players are obviously going to manipulate when the rotates happen on the other team. They're going to obviously engage exactly when they want. They're going to get out exactly when they want. They're going to go for whoever they want with pile driver. They're going to make a shitload of space. They force a ton of cooldowns, and I think that's where he gets a lot of his value from, is a hard committing ball. If you commit to their team, you're going to force so many cooldowns in comparison to the amount you're using, that even just engaging on their team can be very, very valuable, because you're obviously forcing a lot of cooldowns. And especially if you get out and you don't die, or you do some damage or things like that, it's very useful. Especially if you're committing on Ana and then you get sleep dart out, you get nade out, and, maybe like the Kree comes back, he uses flash. That's a lot of useful cooldowns that are gone now that your team can engage much easier now, because obviously you've cost them a lot of cooldowns. And since you're so unkillable, especially with your shields and your general mobility, that it makes it very difficult to deal with ball players, especially very good ball players. A lot of pick potential, especially if he's going for out of position people. For example, he rolls in, boops the Ana away from their team, land a couple good headshots, they're very low HP, maybe you finish them off, and then you just roll out, you shield so they can't kill you, you roll out back to your team, great pick. I think that is probably where Ball gets his value. I think he's very strong. I think his mind's very good zoning ult. It's definitely very strong, but better than D.Va, I'm not sure. Defense Matrix is so strong that I'm not sure I can say that they're better than D.Va, but they're definitely very good. I think they're meta. I think they're more meta than D.Va is, because D.Va's obviously good with Monkey and Ryan and things like that, and those heroes aren't played a lot. So obviously you're going to see less D.Va usage regardless of how strong she is. I think in this meta, Ball is better than D.Va. However, I think in general, in the grand scheme of things, D.Va's better than Ball. But obviously, I mean, there's an argument for either hero being better than the other one. I just personally think that Ball is worse than D.Va. But ever so slightly. Like, they're basically comparable. They're basically the same. Next is Ryan. This hero is C. This hero fucking blows. He's really bad. Really, really bad. Maybe, honestly, not D. Definitely not D. I'd consider B, but I'm going to say he's C. He is just not good, like, at all. Like, if you're playing against, like, Ash Hanzo, you're just gonna die. There's not really anything you can do. And since Zarya isn't played a lot because she's kind of awful, no one really wants to play Ryan then. Or people play Diva a lot with Ryan for the defense matrix. Obviously, they just hold DM over him so he can engage and swing his hammer. Ryan is good against other Ryan comps. Basically, the only scenario where Ryan is a playable hero is in mirror matchups. And even in those scenarios, he's still obviously not great. You could just swap to like Ball, and then the Ryan is going back to being kind of useless. He's very fun. I think in terms of fun, very good. Now, the thing is, with mechanical ability, Ryan is basically all brains. His mechanics are very easy. Other than, obviously, there's a few Ryan techs. There's, obviously, you know, Fire Strike being not difficult to land, but definitely, I think most of the difficulty in Fire Strike is knowing when to use it, not how to. I think it's relatively easy to use, especially at very close range. But I think Ryan in general is a pretty bad hero. Especially with team comps being like double shield, there's just so much damage output that your shield is going to insta-break, and then as soon as your shield's gone, you're basically dead as well. Like the Hanzo Storm Arrow, you get pulled by the Orisa, Sigma rocks you, and he throws his fucking orbs at you. And then, like, I don't know, the Kree will like fan you or something, or it'll jump over your shield and flash you, and then you just die. I think that this hero is not good at all. I think he's definitely... In the current state of the game, I don't think he's bad because he's actually bad. I think he's bad because everything else is just so good. Like, there's basically no reason to play Ryan when you can just go Ball, or you can go Sigma or Orisa, because they're just better heroes. Obviously, I respect a Ryan player who commits to going Ryan regardless, but you gotta feel bad for the man. Like, the meta in general, I mean, even in like Diamond, Ryan players get fucking insta-deleted. It's like really, really sad. Yeah, his risk to reward and his cost, things like that, just don't make him a good hero, like, really at all. Which is unfortunate, because I remember the days of Ryan being obviously the main tank. That's why everyone wanted a Ryan on their team, and that was when the game was the most fun. Playing, you know, Ryan Zarya was very you know, highly played. That's when the game was fun. The game is not fun anymore. This game actually sucks. Next, Sigma. This hero is A tier. He is very, very, very good. I don't think he's S tier, but he's very good because obviously he has his flaws. I think his left click, his M1, is pretty good. I think it's difficult to use, especially fighting squishies. It's very difficult to hit consistently on squishies. So basically the main way he's used is people will hold S until they're far enough away where when they throw it, it explodes next to them instead of actually trying to hit them, just so they can guarantee more damage. So that's why if people are very close to him, he's obviously weaker the closer they are. He has kind of like an optimal range where people were outside of that. He obviously gets exponentially more weak the further they are from that range. But with him having just such great cooldowns in general, his damage output being high, you know, shield being good, he has like counterfeit defense matrix, his ultimate obviously being very good. Also that defense matrix giving him shields when people damage it. His rock, incredibly good CC. It's massive, so it's very easy to hit. The cooldown isn't super long. It does okay damage. Very good stun. It just in general, rock, very, very good ability. I think he's very, very strong. His ult, very good as well, especially if you're playing against comps that want to play very close together. So you just flux them, you're going to grab 4, 5, maybe even 6 people. And if you're going against Orisa, then you basically just have to accept the fact that she's going to gold out of it, and it doesn't matter. Or you can wait for the gold. But I think Sigma, very, very strong hero. M1 gives him a lot of opportunities to deal high damage. Rock, obviously, if someone dives you, for example, say there's a Genji on you, rock, and then you just double left click, or you left click, hit him twice, and then melee, and he's basically dead. I think that is enough to kill him. I could be wrong. It may be one more melee or something like that. I'm not actually sure. I don't know the Sigma combo very well. I don't play a lot of Sigma. But I think Sigma's very, very good, especially combined with another shield. He's basically unkillable, especially if you're cycling your shields properly. The amount of shield you have basically just makes up for the fact that Actually, it doesn't even make up for the fact of anything. He's already strong regardless. I mean, you can play him with basically anyone, and he's very usable. He's very good at helping his teammates rotate. Very good rotation tank. Very good at taking ranges. Very good at forcing people out of positions with his spammer and corners, things like that, where he can bounce his balls. So I think Sig is definitely up there as one of the better tank heroes. I think combined with the right tank hero like Orisa, he becomes insanely powerful, but I think on his own he's also very good. I think Zarya is not D tier. I think she's also C tier. I think she's actually very bad. She basically gets all of her value from her bubbles. That's the only tank ability she has. She's relatively squishy because she's just 400 HP and no armor, so she can get killed very quickly. Her cooldowns are pretty long considering the fact that they don't last very long. All of her value comes from her getting charge. Grav, obviously, very good. Alt, could it be better? Yes. However, with like the state the game is in, you basically just grab like 1 or 2 people and just commit to killing them instead of, because the old way was like you get 6-man grab and then you all just like kill everyone in the grab, but now it's like people have such high survivability, there's so much AoE healing, things like that, you're better off just grabbing like an out of position Ana or something to just guarantee the fact that you can kill her, or you grab their backline in general and you just try and commit to getting a support or something like that, and that's basically where all the value comes from. She has a lot of potential for combos. I think she's one of the most fun heroes in the game to combo with. For example, she's very, very good at enabling dive heroes like Genji, Tracer, Doomfist, Monkey, people just kind of like that. You know, Farah Barrage, obviously, Bubbler, she's going to last way longer. Reaper's Blossom. You know, you Blossom in the middle of a team of GM players. Obviously, if there's like... Honestly, if you're a GM Reaper player, you're obviously going to wait out those cooldowns, but if they do have those cooldowns, you're just dead instantly, really. So I think I think Zarya has her place in the game. I think it's a bad place. Her damage output can be very, very, very high if used properly, but there's a lot of things that are very annoying to deal with Zarya. For example, if you're zapping someone at like 100 charge and then they get Ana-naded and then they're getting healed by the Ana, you're better off just like completely forgetting about their existence because you're not going to kill them fast enough for it to be valuable. Like by the time you've killed them, you're probably already dead to all the peel that's come back to kill you. So your engagers have to be timed basically perfectly. Your parallel push has to be basically perfect, otherwise you're instantly dead. Taking off angles is very dangerous because you're squishy. Basically all the value comes from our damage output, and if you aren't very good at dealing with damage or awaiting certain cooldowns to make your fights easier, then you're basically going to get no value from Zarya. A lot of her skill is in her right click. Her left click isn't super hard. It's not easy, but it's not hard. I think her right click is definitely the hardest thing about her kit. Bubble timings is honestly the most complex thing in terms of brain power, but I think mechanically right clicks is where it's at. If you go up on someone, right click their feet, left click them until they're, you know, obviously a little bit lower, and then right click them again, it's basically an insta kill at 100 charge. It's very fast, but to time a point where you're close enough to people where you can pull that off, it would be very dangerous, because obviously people just commit to killing you, and as soon as your personal's gone, you're just dead because you're so squishy. I think Zarya definitely needs a buff. I think in the next game she's very strong with her ability to just use 2 bubbles on herself, so she's obviously much faster at getting out of places and in places with obviously you can super commit to things now because you have 2 bubbles instead of 1 if you want to use them both on yourself, or you can use 2 bubbles on a teammate if they're getting like super dove and you want to give them like 400 extra HP basically. But I think right now in Overwatch 1 Zarya is a bad hero. Very bad hero, I'm not sure, but definitely a bad hero, which is a shame. I think Hog is a massive problem here in this game. He's not S, but he's... The thing is, right, my problem with Hog is that he isn't an S tier or an A tier. He's probably a B tier hero, but simply because the way he's designed, he's ridiculous. I don't see why in this game Roadhog should go, okay, I'm with my whatever, let's say you're with your Orisa, and you go, fuck it, I'm gonna go flank, and then you just walk in the back lane, you see Ana, oh, press my cooldown, hook her, Oh, they don't have Zarya to bubble her or something like that? Okay, instantly dead. Cool, well, that's a pick. And now I'm gonna walk away. Oh, they're shooting at me? Cool. Let me use my cooldown that heals me, and not only heals me, but gives me damage resistance. Wow, or damage reduction. That's cool. And then if you do get out, well, look at all those people who are hard committed to chasing you. Now they're out of position, and your hook cooldown's back. Oh, hook them into my team. They're dead. Like, the hero is just inherently broken. He's so badly designed that I don't think he makes sense. I think he's actually A tier. I think in terms of team play, D. He's garbage in terms of team play. I think in terms of being very selfish, if you're a very selfish player, he's S tier. So I think middle of the road B is fine for him. But I think in general, hey, the way he's designed was done very poorly. The way he's been balanced has been done very poorly. His general presence in the game has not been dealt with very well. Like, I don't see why a tank should be able to flank as well as he does. I don't see why he should be as selfish as he is. He's basically like zero team play whatsoever. He's basically all about being selfish and flanking and killing things and taking off angles, and generally he makes the game very boring. For example, if you take an off angle, there's a hog there, you're just dead. It doesn't matter who you are dead. If they're a decent hog player, you will die. And that's just boring. Oh, I walked around a corner, there's a hog there, that's unlucky, I'm dead. Simple as that. That's just how it is. There's no counterplay to him other than playing like Ana, but obviously Ana isn't played a ton right now. She's obviously not played a small amount, but in comparison to things like Briggs, Zen, and Bap, she's not played like a ton. Plus, if you have Ana, then you're just going to be committing to killing the Ana anyway, because obviously she's one of the easier targets to go for. So if you kill the Ana, all of your fear is basically gone, because there's nothing that can kill you, unless you're getting like walking away while you're healing and then you're stunned out of your heal, something like that, or you're getting Zen Discord on cooldown if people are chasing you. But I think in general, Hog is a massive problem hero in this game. I don't think he makes any sense like at all in terms of the game itself, the way it's balanced. If they wanted the game to be more solo carry potential, more solo kind of playstyle, I think Hog would be more okay, obviously, because, you know, he's kind of easy to shut down if you're playing around him. But it's like the same reason a lot of heroes in this game have, where they just make the game very boring for everyone else. Like, if I'm a Ryan player and I have a Hog, I'm just not having a good time, because I'm just gonna die so fast, and I don't have an off tank to help me push, and the game's boring. And then the other team's like, okay, there's a Hog flanking. Oh, I've been hooked and I'm dead. That's very fun. Like, I think he ruins the game majorly. That's why you look at like the top 500 leaderboard and everyone's playing Ball or Hog or like Orisa Sigma, something like that. No one really plays anything else because those are the problem heroes in the game. Orisa Sigma obviously enable each other a ton. Hog is just busting in general, and Ball is broken too. The game is just very, very boring and very bad. Orisa also same tier as Sigma, I believe. I think they enable each other a ton. I think on her own, she's not the best. I think on her own, she's probably a B tier hero. If she's with a Hog or something, she's B. But with Sigma, she's basically just like one of the best main tank in the game if you've got a Sigma player. Her damage output is not fantastic. Her overall value, she has very, very high value. Bongo obviously being a very good ultimate. Shield of not having a ton of HP, but who cares, because you've got a Sigma anyway, so you just cast the Sigma barrier, and then by the time that's broken, he's grasping, and then by the time his grasp is done, your shield is back, and then you've taken no damage anyway because your Sigma exists. If you're on your own, like you're doing Orisa Hog, she's definitely not as strong. Her gold, very good ability, very strong main tank in general. She obviously has a lot of weaknesses, but I think she's a problem hero in this game simply because her weaknesses can be basically turned into strengths by heroes like Sigma or Zen, things like that, where if people just descend down on top of her, the Sigma's there to rock, you know, the Zen's there to discord whoever she's fighting, and then she's obviously probably going to win that fight, and she has gold so she can't be stunned out of anything, and she's got pull so she can pull people out of position, and then obviously give her team the chance to kill things. I think in general, Orisa on her own, not great. With a Sigma, broken. Ashe, this hero is fucking unbelievable. I think all the hit scans in this game are ridiculous. Ashe, in general, honestly, I'm close to putting her an S, but I think she's more A, obviously, because double shield meta and like ball hog, and she's not fantastic against ball or double shield. But I think that Ashe is a problem because she's a sniper hero who's difficult to dive, and Dynamite's a giant problem, and Bob is a strong ultimate. So she has all of her issues. Is she's a hit scan hero, which obviously is going to make her better than the projectiles. She is relatively high damage output. Her reload obviously giving her quite a big disadvantage in terms of uptime. But her damage output is absurd regardless, especially with a damage boost. If you take an off angle and you've got good aim, you're basically guaranteed picks. At least one if you've got half decent aim and they're not paying attention to you. Dynamite obviously being extremely oppressive. It does a shitload of damage. It obviously does... The explosion itself does loads of damage. Then the burn over time does tons of damage as well. So Dynamite, incredibly good ability. There's really not a downside to it. It's just strong. Coach Gun, again, obviously just not really having a downside. It's just strong. You get Dove, you Coach Gun, you get booped away, as well as pushing the person who's diving you away. Like, unless you're doing it to like a Genji where he's deflecting, or a Diva who's defense matrixing, you basically just get away. And since you're already probably in your backline, if you're booping them away, you're probably booping them into your team and you're away from yourself, obviously making it even harder for that person to dive you. So I think she's basically an undiveable hit scan hero with high damage output and an extremely oppressive cooldown and Dynamite, and obviously Bob being very strong as well. I think she's honestly, I think she's actually pretty overpowered. I think she's too strong. In the next game, in Overwatch 2, I think if we're thinking about things in terms of what looks good on paper, I think Ashe is obviously going to be very good in the next game too, because I imagine sniper heroes in general are just going to be strong. Obviously, unless like rush comp is like super meta, where you can just rush down on top of the team, and then the Ashe isn't, obviously going to be around long enough to get the value that she would in this game. But in this game, in Overwatch 1, I think she's a little bit absurd. She's very, very strong. And I think it's a little dumb how strong she is. Definitely could be doing with some nerfs. I think her reload time is obviously annoying. I'd honestly have her do less damage for a faster reload, and then just nerf Dynamite or something, and her Coach Gun a little bit. But other than that, I think she's a problem hero in basically every way. Everything about her is just a little too strong. Bastion is D tier, obviously. This hero is just bad. I don't really need to say anything. His whole issue is that he has zero mobility, so unless you're committing to like a bunker comp, he just dies instantaneously. His damage up is nice, but like for dealing with things with like Doom, he can be good, I guess, because obviously the Doom can't kill you. You just kill the Doom. So if Doom's committing to your team a lot, you just go Bastion and you kill him, and then other than killing the Doom, you're not really doing anything else. I think Bastion is just kind of bad. I don't know. I think in Overwatch 2, he's worse. I think he's worse in Overwatch 2 than he is in this game, which says a lot because he's pretty bad in this game. So he's going to be pretty awful in the next game too. But I don't really need to say anything more about Bastion. I mean, the hero is just bad. I mean, he doesn't really have anything good about him. His damage output's good, but obviously against double shield and how fast rotations are anyway, you basically don't really get time to kill anything unless you're like Bastion main, and even then you're just trolling your games 90% of the time, so it doesn't even matter. I think Doom is low C simply because of the meta, but I think in any other meta he's probably D. He's bad. But my problem with Doomfist is I think he is a badly designed hero in a badly designed game. I think, for example, a Doom player, the fact that a Doom player can like hide in a corner on the high ground, and then the team walks past, and then he, seismics, and then he uppercut, left click, punch out, it's like just kind of like cheesy. It's like, for example, if you're a Zen player and it happens to you, you're like, okay, I guess. Like, there's just simply nothing you can do. There's no counterplay to it if he's just being like hiding all the time. If you're playing the rollout Doomfist, it kind of feels cheesy and it feels cheap, and it's like very boring to play against. He takes a lot of skill. He takes a lot of brain to obviously time your engages properly. But I think in general, his hero is just badly designed. I don't think you should have a hero in a game where if not countered or not dealt with, he's insanely oppressive, And if he is slightly countered, he's borderline useless. I think in general, game design like that is just very lazy and very poor. And I think Doom in general was probably moved to a tank because they didn't really know how to make him balanced in the next game, because they're realizing like, oh, this hero is fucking absurd in the next game when he has less things to, you know, worry about when he's engaging. So we make him a tank hero. I mean, he's a problem hero in this game. He's a problem hero in the next game. I don't think he's OP. I think actually, you know what? I do think he's OP. I think he's actually overpowered. But not because. But I think he has to be overpowered because of the way he's designed. He's so badly designed that he has to be overpowered. His abilities have to be too strong, just for him to have a chance. Because if he engages and there's a McCree on the other team, he's just instantly dead. If there's a Brig, he's instantly dead. If there's basically any CC ability at all, dead. Sombra, he's just dead. If there's a Junk, he's probably just dead. There's a Hanzo, he's dead. There's a Mei, he's dead. There's not really anything. There's a Sim, you're just dead. Like, there's just nothing really you can do on Doom because he's badly made. And since he was designed in such a terrible way, it just makes his cooldowns in general cheesy and cheap and feel like garbage to die to, and it's very boring and it sucks, and I don't know. I think Echo is not OP as much as people think she is. I don't think she's OP at all. I think she's very strong in terms of being a projectile hero. I don't think she's OP. But I think the reason she isn't as strong as people think she is because obviously in ranks like High Masters, GM, things like that, obviously if there's a hit scan player, you just kind of die. Your hitbox is enormous. Your head is gigantic as well. Your wingspan is huge. It's basically difficult to miss when shooting an Echo. And since Mercy isn't super powerful now either, all the flying heroes are kind of bad. Like, if you have Mercy who's not meta, flying heroes who are projectile are kind of bad in general, and hit scan is meta, there's basically no point playing her. I think she's the strongest projectile hero in the game. Maybe Hanzo is better. I think probably Hanzo is better, actually. I think Hanzo fucking badly designed as well. I think that hero sucks too. And in terms of balancing, it very badly made. I think Echo's stickies are insane. If you obviously they're very difficult to land, but if you land all of them on someone, you can basically guarantee the fact that they're dead if they're squishy. Like if you're like, for example, if there's like an Ana in the backline and you just fly up and shoot all your squishies, you can basically say like they're dead. But I think the reason Echo's so strong is her poke is ridiculous. Her poke is so strong. She has high damage output with big projectiles that, although they don't move super fast, they're just so large that it doesn't really matter. Plus her beam, if you're like, she's a fucking shield shredding machine with her beam as well if you want to be. She completely erases tanks from the game once they touch half HP. She's very good at flanking. Her poke is very strong. I think she's very, very good. I don't know if I'd say she's S tier, because obviously hit scans being in this game make her weak. But, I mean, actually, yeah, she's worse than Ashe. I actually haven't balanced this properly. Do I think Sigma's better than Orisa? No, yes. And I think Ashe is better than Echo. And I think Hog is better than Monkey. And I think Zarya is better than Ryan. And I think, yeah, Doom is worse than... I think Moira is better than Lulu. No, I don't think that. No, definitely. No. Okay. Genji. Okay, we all know how I feel about Genji. I'm going to be a realist with all of you. This is the worst hero in the game. I actually want to make a new tier. How do I make a new tier? Can I make a new tier? I want to add a row below. Here we go. Most garbage. Oh shit, hold on. Hero to have ever been made. Lol. This hero is fucking dog shit. Like, it's not even funny. This hero is... Like, my problem with Genji is that he isn't a little bad. He's fucking awful. Like, awful. And basically his only playstyle at all is poke for 3.5 minutes against double shield to build Blade. And then when you do have Blade, you probably don't have an Ana anyway, so it doesn't even matter. The Blade is useless. And if you do have an Ana, you Nano Blade, and Nano Blade is probably the strongest, if not one of the strongest. ult combos in the game, especially in the hands of like Shatter or Necros or Sparkle or just a very talented Genji player in general. Nanoblade is incredibly strong in those circumstances, but basically in every other scenario he's completely useless. Like, the only way you kill anything on Genji is committing to a 50-50 basically, unless like the other team is fucking atrociously bad. Basically every fight you take is 50-50, and honestly, like, imagine you'd say to a Tracer player, your chances of winning are 50-50. The Tracer player's like, I probably don't want to take that fight. But to a Genji player, a 50-50 is like, I'm like, that's a really good chance of me winning an engagement. That's fucking dumb. This hero sucks. Like, he isn't a little bad, he's awful. His projectiles are tiny, they're high spread, he has very little of them, he has very low damage, he shoots slow, his projectiles are tiny and move very slow as well. His ultimate is basically useless without nano. His mobility is the strongest in the game, I believe. I love his mobility. His mobility is very good, and that's basically where all the good Genji players play the game. Like, they just all rely on their mobility to do things, which is obviously okay. He's a mobility hero. He should be rewarded for a player having good mobility with him. However, actually, I don't have a problem with that. I'm totally fine with him having mobility and it being his main source of value. But my issue with Genji, my biggest issue with Genji, is his risk to reward ratio is probably the worst in the entire game. I don't think there's a single hero in the whole game that even comes close to how bad his risk to reward is. Like, it's awful. To get a kill, you basically have to kill yourself. Like, if you're playing against like double sniper, there's basically zero purpose in playing Genji, like, at all. That seems a little ridiculous, obviously, because you think he's good against sniper heroes, but he's basically only good against Widow. Like, if they have Ashe, she just beats you in a 1v1 anyway. If she has Hanzo, the Hanzo just beats you in a 1v1 anyway because it's Storm Arrow. And it's like, I mean, you could probably win those. Those fights are probably more 50-50 depending on how late into the fight you are and what cooldowns have been used and how much peel is available, the position they're in and the way they're rotating. Things like that obviously are important things to think about, but that's a little complicated to just kind of break down and be like, oh, well, Genji's very good if the Ashe has 25 HP and doesn't have Coach Gun and is reloading and doesn't have, like, that doesn't make sense. So, in general, this hero is the worst hero in the game. Worse than Bastion. I don't think it's close. I think Bastion is far worse. And my problem is, Bastion's cost to upkeep is relatively high if you actually plan on keeping him alive. But his potential is far higher than Genji's because he has much higher uptime than Genji. If you just AFK in the backline as Bastion and just hold left click down into their team, that's far more value than a Genji just doing like 60, 90 or so damage to fucking shield every like 0.7 seconds or whatever it is. It's like, you basically use zero fucking damage output, like, at all. Like, he's just so bad. He basically, if he didn't have Nanoblade, he would be a throw pick. I'm being honest. This hero is so close to being a throw pick that it's actually hilarious. People genuinely believe this hero is actually not that bad or is balanced because he's got like a decent win rate and a decent pick rate. But keep in mind, basically every player who plays Genji is smurfing because he's fun to play. And every hero who doesn't play Genji, or who does play Genji and isn't smurfing, basically loses every game they play anyway, unless they're just substantially better than the other team, or you're in like gold or something where people just play like complete robots. And even in gold, like, it's so easy to shut Genji down. Like, his only fun playstyle, the playstyle I use, I like to call it a suffocation kind of playstyle, where I'm always in the enemy team, but that's like not even remotely applicable in anything above like plat. Like, I've done it in GM, and it's like I've like 12 deaths per 10 and like 0 damage output, but I have like 4 limbs per, like, it's just an extremely boring way to play Genji. The only viable way to play him is very boring. The only fun way to play him throws the entire game. This hero is, honestly, I think he's in the worst state he's ever been. Actually, no, that's not true. He's definitely been worse than he is now. I think he should be turbo buffed. I think even in the next game, he's not actually very good. I don't think he's near the top. I think he's more in the middle, which is obviously okay. And I'm okay with Genji being a very high skill hero. I'm okay with him having a lower value output to the other DPS for a higher risk. I don't mind that, because it enables players to practice and get better at him and to learn and to do things like that. I'm totally fine with that. But it's the fact that if I put in like $1 million into the stock exchange or whatever, or like the fucking like blockchain and crypto, and then I get like $6 back for the potential of losing $1 million, that's what it feels like to play Genji. Like, the amount of value you're getting from him isn't even remotely close to the amount of risk that you need to take to get that very small value. I think he's the worst hero in the game, and I think he has been for a long time. I think, honestly, for years, he's been one of the worst. I think this is probably one of the only times where he's been definitively the worst. But I think he's always been near the bottom, other than like in like Dive or very early Overwatch where he was very strong. But I think he's the worst hero in the game. Hanzo, I think, is A tier for projectile hero. Honestly, actually, yeah, for projectile hero, A tier. He's actually very strong. I think in terms of hit scan, there's basically no point in playing him, because just pick a hit scan hero, lol. But Storm Arrow, very strong, high damage output. His general M1 is very strong. It feels very cheap to like headshot someone across the map. Like, the amount of times I've just been walking around and then Hanzo's just shot just like randomly in my general direction and I've died, and I've been like, cool, that was fun, I guess. It's like the same reason I hate Widow. It's just like so astonishingly oppressive simply because of their existence that he's just a very boring hero to play against. I think he obviously has a lot of weaknesses that can be exploited, but in general, in terms of being a projectile hero, he's very strong. He's probably better than Echo, maybe. I think, oh, it's close. I think he's better than Echo. I think he's definitely better than Echo. But yeah, Sonar, very strong. His ult is garbage. Like, his ult just sucks in general. It's just not a good ult, but it doesn't matter because your damage output is absurdly high. You're a sniper hero, so you obviously have no fucking... You're your projectile, sorry, so you don't have damage fall off. You're very good in 1v1. Like, if people dive you, your chances of winning are actually relatively high, considering the fact that if you just land a left click on them and you can just storm arrow them and you don't even really have to aim because the projectiles are so big, it doesn't even really matter. So Hanzo, I think, is strong. Junk, I think, is probably C tier. I think he's better than all these heroes. Oh, is Ashe better than these? No, actually, you know what? Fuck it. Ana is not better than these here. I think Ana's like down here. Okay. Where did I put Junk? I think Junk is top of C tier. I think the only thing that gives him any value is his one-shot combo, because it's extremely easy to hit. The cooldown is short. You have 2 chances because you have 2 concussion mines. His trap is just bad. His hitbox in general is bad. His mobility is okay. His damage up is good. He can burst people down very quickly, but he's difficult to aim because his projectiles obviously aren't very fast and they don't travel very far and they arc very heavily. And I think general spam, he's okay, but in terms of actually playing the game, I don't think he's very good, like, at all. Other than his one-shot combo, but typically you're never close enough to someone to one-shot combo them unless you're fighting a Genji, for example. Then it's just cheesy because his one-shot combo is insanely easy to hit on Genji. And if, for example, you do your one-shot combo and he deflects it, and by the time deflect is run out, it doesn't matter because you've got another concussion mine to do the combo on him again. So it doesn't even matter. Unless he insta-kills you, your chances of killing Genji are actually relatively high, which makes Genji even worse, which is somehow fun, I guess. I don't know. Junk in general, not very good, but better than other projectiles? Probably not either, actually. He could be buffed, maybe. I hate his one-shot combo. I think it's cheesy and it's cheap and he's low skill. I think players like Aquamarine and other Junkrat players and like that obviously can, you know, do things that most other Genji players or against Junkrat players can't do because they're just mechanically very good and they're very intelligent. Things like that. But Junk, I don't think he's very good. He could definitely do with buffs. I hate his one-shot combo. I think that shit's so cheap and cheesy. I hate it. McCree. This hero is better than Ashe. No, he's not. No, he's not. I think he's worse than Ashe. I think, honestly, I'm close to putting these guys in S tier. They're so fucking unbelievable. Actually, you know what? I am. I'm putting Ashe in S tier, and I think Kree's at the top of A tier. McCree's flashbang is the dumbest stun in the game. It's so dumb. I can't begin to explain how much I hate flashbang. So he can roll in the air. He has high damage output. He's a hit scan hero. If you go anywhere near him, he basically insta kills you because he either flash headshots you or flash bans you, and you insta die. His mobility is dog shit, so it doesn't matter. If he gets hard committed on multiple people, he just dies, which is honestly a good thing. His 25 HP buff was the dumbest buff I've ever seen in the game's life cycle. I think I've ever seen. It doesn't make any sense. It still doesn't make any sense. I don't know why they did it. The roll in the air is dumb as shit. I'm gonna be honest. I think the head balancer, whoever does the balancing in Overwatch, or the obviously the Blizzard studio for Overwatch, is just a McCree one trick, and they just want him to be as good as possible. Or sorry, Cassidy. He's still McCree. I call him McCree. I'm sorry if you don't like me calling him McCree. I apologize, but I will call him McCree because that's who he is. Anyway, I think he is broken, very broken. I think hit scan heroes in general in this game are broken. I think they're very boring to play against. I think they're too easy to play. I think his cooldowns in general are too easy to use and get value from. I think he's given too many chances with his 25 HP. In general, I think he's incredibly broken. He is relatively easy-ish to play. Obviously, you need to aim, but if you know how to buy Kovacs, it's not hard to get pretty good aim, honestly. Like, I could probably play this hero and just zero head him to like a relatively high elo, simply based on the fact that I can aim, which is retarded in my opinion. I don't think that makes any sense at all, but sure, I guess. Flashbang, again, is the fucking most unbelievable crowd control ability in this game. Like, if you're Genji, you just cannot go near him because he will kill you. It's not even like it's like maybe, it's guaranteed. If he has flashbang and you go near him as Genji, you just die. Because he's got a ton of HP, hit scan, flashbang, roll, tons of ammo. His fucking ammo comes back when he rolls, so if he misses a ton, he just rolls away and then can keep shooting you. He does tons of damage. The hero's fucking unreal. I actually can't even begin to explain to you how angry this hero makes me. I cannot physically believe this hero is in the game. He is honestly fucking unbelievable. But people are like, oh, but he's difficult to play. He's hit-scan. You need to know the aim, but oh my god, you need to know the flashback. Fuck you. You're wrong. This hero is so easy to play. It's hilarious. I don't get under players who are like, oh my god, hit scan is so hard to play, bro. No, it's not. The only skill you need is the ability to aim. That's it. And that is not a difficult thing to be good at. Seriously, it's not difficult to be good at aiming, especially on hit scan. But anyway, that's my rant about McCree over. Mei, this hero is B tier because she's basically a tank hero with a shitload of crowd control, and that's it. Her ability to heal herself, strong. Her ability to stall point forever, very strong. Ice block in general, being unable to damage her while it reloads her ammo and heals her, is pretty strong. Her wall, when used properly, very strong. I think she's very bad at escaping. Obviously, absolutely zero mobility, so if she gets dove, she's just dead. But then again, if she gets dove, she just ice blocks. And then once ice block is done, she just walls herself away from them. And then by the time that's done, the dive has been in their team for so long, they're probably dead. So I think Mei is not a bad hero. I don't think she's a good hero, but I don't think she's a bad hero. I think, again, she's badly designed. I think in general, most of the heroes in this game are badly designed and badly balanced. Like, not even a little bit badly, very badly. I think the game in terms of balance is probably the worst FPS game out there in terms of balance. It is fucking atrocious how badly balanced this game is. But anyway, that's Mei, I guess. Like, her right click's cool. It's, you know, like you can kill people, I guess. Something like you just, you know, you just freaking blast them or whatever. It's fun. I mean, she's fun to play. I mean, it feels very good to be like, oh wow, a Genji in my backline, cool. I hold left click, cool, you're just dead. That's it, you just die. You're just simply dead. You come anywhere near Mei, and you're less than 700 HP, you die. You die. If you commit to her, and you are alone, you are probably dead. Unless she's got no cooldowns. And even if she doesn't have cooldowns, you need to kill her so fast because her beam is enormous and it's very easy to use. So that's super fun. I think Mei, in terms of skill, is 0. She requires no skill. I think in terms of value, she can be high value, but her value is typically very limited because she's very close range. Unless you're like spamming right clicks into the backline and then getting like really nice shots, then obviously all your value comes from being very close to people. And we're in a meta right now where people are not very close to each other. So Mei, I think, is not good. I think Pharah is also not good. I think she's worse than Junk. Do I? No. I think, well, I think in terms of if the enemy team has a hit scan, she is completely useless. If the enemy team doesn't have a hit scan, she's very good. I think she's better than Junk. I think she has less versatility than Junk, but in general, with a Mercy Pocket, you're just like unkillable with good movement, unless you're playing like a very good hit scan player, or just like a fucking average hit scan player, to be honest. Or maybe she's worse than Junk, actually. It's hard to tell. I think... no, I think she's probably worse than Junk. Is she worse than Junk? I think against hit scan, she's worse than Junk. But against no hit scan, she's better than Junk. So I'm going to keep her where she is. Anyway, concussion mine, or whatever the fuck it is, the blast thing that boops people, is kind of lame. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of bad. It doesn't really have a purpose other than booping you, and it's used for your mobility or lucky environmentals. But then again, if you're playing against Pharah, you kind of know she wants those environmentals, so you just don't stand close to the edge, and then it doesn't really matter. I think her left click is relatively slow traveling. I think she's easy to... Actually, she's worse than Junk, bro. She fucking sucks. I'm not gonna lie. She's actually kind of bad. Especially if you're bad at her, she's just completely useless. You have to be a very good Pharah player to get value on this hero. I'm not gonna lie. She's pretty bad. Reapy boy. I think Reaper is a B tier hero who's better than all of these heroes. I think Mercy is worse than Hog. I think Mercy is worse than Reaper, so I will put her there. I think everything else looks okay. I think everyone's in a good spot. I think Hog is probably better than Anna, I'm not gonna lie. Honestly, yeah, I'm gonna move Anna to B and then Hog to A. No, she's not as bad as Mercy. She can go in A as well. I think Hog is better than Echo. Better than Hanzo? I think he's probably better than Hanzo. I'm not gonna lie, Hog is very good. He's broke. He's easy to shut down, but he's busted. Anyway, who was I talking about? Who did I put in the Reaper? Oh, I don't think he's top of B. Maybe. But heroes in B are kind of bad. Reaper he's okay. It's difficult to engage with him, but it's relatively easy to escape. He kills people very, very quickly if you're landing your shots, which is cool. I think he is okay against double shield. I think he's very good against Ball Hog. I think his ult is garbage against crowd control. I think without crowd control, it can be very strong if engaged properly with it. So I think he's middle of the road. I'm fine with him being middle of the road because obviously he has a lot of potential, but he's also kind of easy to shut down. But he typically has higher value output than his cost to get said value, which, you know, I think is okay-ish. I mean, Reaper's fine. I mean, I don't think he's bad. He's definitely not... Well, he's pretty... I honestly, I'm pretty conflicted with Reaper. I think he, against meta heroes like Ashe, Hanzo, Kree, things like that, he's dog shit. But in other scenarios, against like projectile heroes, he's actually pretty good. I wouldn't mind playing Reaper against basically all of the projectiles in this game. Maybe other than Pharah or Echo, but other than playing as Pharah or Echo, I think he's pretty strong. Soldier, in Overwatch 1, I believe he's the worst hit scan in the game. Unless you're counting Sombra as a hit scan, then maybe Sombra is worse, but Sombra is just inherently very overpowered and a dumb hero in general who is badly designed. So I think Soldier is an A tier hero simply because he's hit scan. I don't think he's actually better than any of these heroes though. I'm not gonna. Is he better than Hog? He's better than Hog. No, he's not better than Hog. Whoa. No, okay, no, this is fair. I think Soldier kind of deserves a spot. I'm fine with him being here. Soldier in general, basically all of his strength, hit scan hero, very, very easy to use. Helix is just basically a free kill on any squishy if you've got decent aim. Obviously his rotations are very, very fast because he can sprint. His mobility is okay because he can rocket jump. Basically 0 vertical mobility but plenty of horizontal mobility in his sprint. He can get to nice places with rocket jump as well. But I think hit scans in general in this game are far too strong. I think hit scan is an unbelievably broken role. I don't get why people think hit scan is like, oh my god, hit scan, yo guys, don't nerf hit scan, guys. It's so fucking difficult to play. Oh my god, hit scan's so but like my problem with Overwatch is that if you have heroes like Pharah and Echo, you need hit scan to be strong to deal with those heroes. But if hit scan is strong, it's also dealing with every other hero in the game. So you either have hit scan heroes who are bad and then Pharah and Echo are meta, or you have hit scan heroes who are balanced and then they're still way stronger than projectile heroes, because the only way to balance them is to make them strong enough to deal with Pharah and Echo, and if they're strong enough to deal with those heroes, they're more than strong enough to deal with basically everything else in the game, which is bad game design. How great is that? Blizzard having bad game design, what a surprise. Anyway, Soldier, I think he's okay. Actually, I don't think he's good, because he's hit scan. Lol. Guys, just play hit scan. Seriously, I'm being honest. If you're getting fucking dumpstered a game, just go hit scan. Because you just zero brain aim at people, and it's just fucking so easy to play. It's easy to play, it's high value, it's fucking stupid. There's basically zero risk, because you can stand a million years away from someone and shoot them anyway, because there's damage fall off, but even with the damage fall off, it's like, it doesn't even matter, because if you're landing your shots, you can basically force anyone out of any position regardless, because of how easy your fucking role is to play. I think hit scan in general is busted. I think Sombra is high B tier. I think he's better than Reaper. I think she is inherently busted, but I think she only gets better the higher your elo is. So in bronze, she's completely useless. In a GM, she's extremely powerful, which makes me put her in B tier, because obviously if I put her in S, then it would be like, well, she's completely useless everywhere apart from GM. And even in GM, she can be shut down if you have not even like a brain. Like if you're playing a Fitzy, you just kind of just like lose, because you're just hacked all the time. And your experience is just miserable, and it's just not fun to play against. The hero feels garbage to play against. Her ult feels extremely cheap and boring and just trash. Hack in general just feels like trash. Her TP feels cheap, and it's like so cheap. I'm taking damage, I'm gone, like you just can't kill me, and I'm back in like 5 seconds to hack you again. Oh, I fucking despise the hero. And the invisibility is cheesy as well, but she needs it, because otherwise she'd be useless without it. Because her whole hero is being stealthy and like hacking. I think the hero should be removed from the game. Like actually completely deleted from the game. She is unbelievable. She's one of those heroes, a bit like Doomfist, where she's so badly designed that she needs to be very strong, because everyone is shit with her, and she's easy to shut down. So she's just very strong. So if you get good with her, she's fucking ridiculous, because you just don't die ever. Everyone is always hacked. You have EMP every minute and a half, every minute or so. Like, the hero is absurd. There's a dive comp, cool. Well, your Doomfist is hacked, he's dead. Your Genji's hacked, dead. Lucio gets hacked, he's fucking dead. Like, if you just hack basically anyone, they just die, because you get hacked forever, and the cooldown is so cheap anyway. It doesn't even matter how, you know, how strong the target is that you're hacking, because they could be insanely weak. It doesn't matter, you're gonna get it back in like 6 seconds anyway, so who cares? The hero's dumb. I think Sim is bad, actually. I think she's worse than all these heroes. But my problem with Sim is her turrets are fucking ridiculous. Her turrets are so strong, it's unreal. Like, basically every hero who is bad has a very cheap thing about them that makes them niche and that's fucking boring. I'd rather you just remove the niche and made them good. Like Sim, if you just like have your turrets in the backline and there's a Genji on the other team, the Genji just doesn't exist. He just can't. What does he do? He goes in, the Sim turrets eat him alive, they slow him down, do a ton of damage, and she beams him at the same time while he's trying to avoid all the CC and things. Cool, I guess, lol. Sim turrets, lol. Like, Sim turrets are busted, bro. I hate Sim turrets. I think she's bad, but her Sim turrets are fucking unbelievable. I hate Sim turrets in this game. They're so cheap. Damage output is high, but basically all of her value comes from her fucking turrets, man. I hate the fucking turrets. I hate them. Torb, I think, is the tied best projectile in the game with Hanzo. I think... Oh, okay, the A tier is looking pretty clogged. I mean, not a lot of Bs. I'm honestly kind of willing to move Anna down to B tier. I think Anna's more B. And I think Echo... No, Echo's an A tier. I'm okay with that. So Torb is like super high damage output, very good zoning ult. His turret in general is just very easy to use. You just put it down and it does whatever. Put it in your backline and watches for tracers or something. Just general damage output in general. His fucking override thing where he gains a shitload of armor is ridiculous. You just basically, like, for example, if you're a Doom and you jump him, oh cool, I have like 1,000,000 armor now, I'm invincible, lol. And I kill you now, you fucking die because I left clicked you twice. Nice, that's cool, I guess. But I think all of his value comes from his override and his spam. He's very spammy. He spams very hard. Spams very good. And his hitbox is tiny. His head's pretty big in comparison to the rest of the hitbox, but his hitbox is so small it doesn't matter. I think Torb's actually very strong. Tracer, I think, is S tier. I think she's better than BAP, but worse than Breaking Zen. She's just very strong. Infinitely high skill ceiling, big damage output, very good self-sustain, very, very good horizontal mobility, recall is very strong, blink is very strong. Her only bad thing is that she is deleted by CC, and even then, if you're playing against like a bad brick player, it doesn't even matter because you're going to escape anyway against it. They're not going to kill you. So I think Tracer's the best DPS in the game by far. I don't think it's close. Infinite skill ceiling, tons of... I think she's one of the only DPS... I think she's one of the only heroes in the game with genuine carry potential. I think everyone else basically has such minimal carry potential that it doesn't even fucking matter whether or not you're doing very well with them in comparison to just doing well with them. I think Tracer is one of those heroes where, since their skill ceiling is infinitely high, you could technically 1v6 every single fight on the hero. I mean, Genji technically has an infinite skill ceiling, but it's like no real human being is dashing into the backline, you know, hitting 3 shurikens on the head with right click, meleeing, dashing to the next target, you know, triple headshot, melee again, and then to the next without getting CC'd or without just getting burst down in general. Like, that's just not gonna happen. But Tracer has... her engages are faster, she can engage more often, her damage output in general is much higher, she can burn people down way faster, her recall is very strong, giving her an out if she needs it, and to give her HP back. So I think things like that are what makes Tracer extremely powerful, and I think she's unmatched in the DPS category. I think she's absolutely the strongest. I don't think it's close. Next, Widowmaker. I will say Widowmaker is by far one of the biggest problem heroes in this game, and I don't think anyone can disagree with me. I think this hero is fucking absurd. This hero is unbelievable. Seriously. Like, and the fact that I know this is a fact is because basically every single player who's ever played against a good Widowmaker, when the Widowmaker dies, and then they respawn, in about 10 seconds time, someone is going to go, okay, Widow's back, we have to deal with Widow, right? which is fine. I'm okay with a hero being oppressive and having to be dealt with, but she's extremely boring. She sits at the back of the map as a hit scan hero who all she needs to do is click on a head and boom, she's instantly got a pick. Wow, okay, well your Ana jumped, well she's dead, that's fine. You simply lost the entire fight because your Ana pressed spacebar. And that with the Widow is so far away from everything, she's like an uncontacted tribe. She's like the fucking Sentinel Island. She's just like completely alone, doing her own thing, and if she does get dove, oh, I grappled away, now I'm in a different fucking continent with how far that thing puts you away from things. Oh, and what's that? There's a Genji on me? Cool, I grapple, and if I've got good aim, you die. Lol. Like, oh, I'm getting dove? Okay, I grapple. Oh, I'm in my team, you can't kill me. That's fun. Like, I think Widow is S. I think she's better than Ashe. I think she's 100% better than Ashe. You know what's hilarious, actually? The fact that Widowmaker is like, should technically be, in double shield meta, she should be like the worst hero in the game, but she's still absurdly powerful. That's fucking ridiculous. Like, that's how you know the hero is broken. With a meta that's deliberately made to be bad for her, and she's still like one of the most like strongest heroes in the game. That's fucking absurd. This hero is ridiculous. Is there another D? I think we can move him down to D tier. I think he's better than Bastion. No, he's not. He's definitely worse than Bastion. I don't think anyone else is D tier. But yeah, I think Widow is absurd. Like, fucking unbelievably absurd. Like, it's stupid how powerful Widowmaker is. I hate that hero with a passion. Seriously. I will say, I play a decent amount of Overwatch. I've played for thousands of hours. I have thousands of hours on the Genji hero alone. I have tons of accounts. I've played in GM. I smurf in basically every rank under the sun. I consistently hit pretty high elos in GM. And the hero is still... The thing, my biggest problem with Genji is that even though I am statistically a good Genji player, I struggle just as much in gold as I do in GM, simply because I refuse to adapt to the strong Genji playstyle, because he's such a shit hero. He has one playstyle. Like, that is how fucking absurdly bad Genji is. The fact that I need to unironically try in gold because the hero I play is that bad, and fair enough, if you want to say, oh, you're smurfing, you're a terrible human, I agree. Yeah, smurfing's fucked up, I know, but the queue times are so long on my main accounts. All the accounts up there in a decent elo where I get mass avoided for playing Genji. Oh, I don't want a fucking Genji player in my team. Avoid. Okay, lol, thanks for the 140 minute fucking queue times you've given me. That's pretty sweet. So I go, fuck it, I'm gonna play in gold, where the queue times are like still 10 minutes for DPS, which is fucking absurd. But anyway, I don't want to sit in a queue for 100 minutes to play Genji against Brig, Zen, Double Shield, McCree, Ashe. No one wants to do that. Not a soul on planet Earth wants to sit in a queue for an hour and a half and play against those heroes. No one wants to do it. When it's been meta for 3 years, no one wants to fucking deal with it anymore. That's why everyone is smurfing, because the game is terrible. The game fucking blows. It's not even like the game is a little bad. The game is really bad. Like, awfully bad. I can't wrap my head around how you can have a hero in the game as strong as Widowmaker, but another hero as weak as Genji. I don't get how you can have balance like that. Like, I would understand if Widow was better hero than Genji. That'd be fine. But she's not just a better hero than Genji. I would rather have 1 DPS on my team as Widow than 2 DPS on my team, and they both get to play Genji. That's absurd. I would rather have 1 Widowmaker than 2 Genjis on my team, because she's simply that valuable. All of her value comes from her ability to aim. If you have 0 aim, you're a terrible Widow player. If you have great aim, you are an unstoppable machine that just kills absolutely everything. That's fucking ridiculous. This tier list is, in my opinion, from the perspective of a Genji one-trick. I understand, one-tricking is bad. I am obviously biased towards the heroes that are good against Genji being stronger than other heroes that other people may be like, oh, like, I don't think that hero is very strong. I'm a Widow player. I don't think Widow is very good. Fair enough. You're free to believe that. I have no problem with that. This is my opinion. I think I trust my perspective more than I would trust others because obviously I have thousands of hours on this game. I've played in basically every level. I mean, obviously apart from like pro level and like collegiate and like contenders, shit like that. Obviously I haven't done that, but I've played in 4400 before. I play in Masters very consistently to just chill out. I play all the way from bronze to fucking diamond. I still play in GM very consistently. I still hate every waking moment of my life when I'm playing Genji. I still cry and bitch and complain like a 12-year-old when I'm playing this game, even though it doesn't matter because it's just a game, because I love this game. I am passionate. I'm so passionate about my love for Overwatch that it makes me so upset that this game is in the state that it's in and it's being refused to be fixed. And instead of fixing it, they decided to make a whole new game. And that new game has a ton of problems that I hate as well. Like the visual clarity is dog shit. The maps are ugly and bright and disgusting looking and are badly laid out. The visual clarity is so awful, I can't even begin to explain how much I hate it. The new sounds are so jarring that it makes me nauseous listening to it. The screen shake when you take damage is AIDS. It's impossible to tell when you're low HP because of the way they changed the UI. The changes in the buffs and the nerfs are all bad. The reworks are bad. Like, and this is my opinion. Obviously, you're free to disagree. I think most people actually really like Overwatch 2, and I'm happy for them. I wish I liked Overwatch 2 as much as the average person liked Overwatch 2, but I fucking hate that game. I think that game is worse than Overwatch 1, and Overwatch 1 is one of the worst games I've ever played. So, you know, take that however you want, I guess. Anyway, I am gonna go queue a game of Genji in 3800, and then hate every single time I pick the Genji hero, and then everyone goes, oh my god, get it, Genji, or whatever. And then I'm gonna absolutely hate my miserable existence while I play against Ashe, and McCree, and Widow, and Brig, and Zen, and Bap, and Ball, and just general shit like that. So anyway, thank you all very much for watching. By the way, I'm coming back to this YouTube shit, and I'm doing it right this time. I've done it twice. One time, I had no idea what I was doing, and I just kind of uploaded garbage, which is okay. Then I took a 9-month break, a 10-month break, something like that. Then I came back, and I did it better than I did last time, but my upload schedule was terrible. I was uploading like less than weekly, which is super bad. So I have decided I am willing to have lower quality videos for more consistent videos. I would rather just sit down, I play like fucking House Flipper for like an hour and a half, I edit it down into whatever, I throw memes in there, I do clever cuts, I make it look net. I'm fine with doing that because obviously I would see that as low effort. I'm like a very lazy perfectionist. Like I would rather just give up on something instead of committing to trying to make it perfect, because obviously I know it's never going to be perfect. So I am hard committing to doing this YouTube shit. I'm gonna start uploading more. I'm just gonna upload what I'm gonna record everything. I don't care if the video is lower quality. Obviously I'm not gonna upload complete garbage. Like I'm not just gonna upload low quality trash. But the videos are gonna be slightly lower quality because then I'm gonna be burnt out less. I'm gonna upload more, and then obviously over time I'm gonna gradually get better. I'm gonna know what things are more fun. I'm gonna be able to edit better. I'm gonna make videos more consistently. I'm gonna be more confident in the games I play. Just general shit like that. But for now, enjoy. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know probably a lot of you are mauling that I said your hero is very good when you think it's bad, or your hero is very bad when you think they're very good. Whatever. I'm sorry. This is my opinion. Anyway, I love all of you, each individually a lot.